2024. I hope it was a good year for you. I had a bunch of great adventures. Colombia, Portugal, Oregon, Oklahoma, California. I met a number of you at events, had a lot of great rides, and then I smashed up my shoulder. Well, I've been back at it gingerly, and my appreciation for cycling and its benefits has again been refreshed. The camaraderie, the community, the endorphins, the serotonin, the vitamin E, etc. The end of the year is always a good time to take stock, look back, and give thanks. And that's exactly what this video is. I want to say thanks to you for making this channel work for me. If you're not familiar with my backstory, I worked in cycling editorial for more than 2 decades. Last year, I was doing this channel part-time and working for Fast Cat coaching part-time. Got enough traction, I was able to make a full-time go of it this year. So for that, I am quite grateful. So I want to say thanks to you for making this possible. Also, I want to say thanks to my supporting brands who have made what I do possible here. Testing bikes and wheels and tires without taking money from any of those brands. So here I want to dig into the gear and nutrition and coffee I have loved all year. I'll put links to this stuff down below, and there are discounts tucked in there for some of these things. So without further ado, let's talk about the stuff I loved in 2024. With the new year coming up, let's talk drinks and the vessels for drinking. It's funny how some things that bug me right out of the gate end up becoming favorites. For instance, Elite's Fly bottle struck me as cheap and overly squishy because you can squeeze it a little too easily, and that causes the graphics to go quickly. However, the chuggability of these bottles is fantastic. And going back to the trusty old, specialized purist bottles, I've been annoyed by the relatively constricted flow of the nozzle. So all that to say, these Elite bottles, if you dig them, they come in a bunch of different sizes, and you can pound these suckers. Been filling those with EFS and EFS-Pro from First Endurance. EFS is your straightforward hydration carbohydrate mix, and then EFS-Pro is the high carb mix. You see this from a lot of brands these days. What I like about the EFS-Pro from First Endurance is it's easy to mix, it's easy to stomach, and it's easy to digest. It sounds simple, but y'all know if you've tried various types of high carb mix, that isn't always the way. Either it's like super clumpy in the bottle, or it gives you gut bombs. So the stuff just works well, and I dig it for that. It also comes in like single serving sizes. What I do often when I'm traveling is, instead of having bags, which I can make a mess of when I'm traveling, just put it in a little tin that I've very professionally taped the label onto so I know what it is. So EFS, oh, my shoulder's still not working well. So EFS is what I use for shorter rides, less intense rides. EFS Pro is what I use for bigger days and for racing. Y'all know I love to ride my bike, try to get out there almost every day. I don't use any of the bike stuff every single day. What I do every single day is drink coffee. Good folks at PERC Coffee down in Atlanta and Savannah, Georgia, brew up all sorts of great stuff. We got the Holiday Brew. These are all props. They are empty because I have blown through this stuff like oxygen. My go-to is Juggernaut. Sort of dark, really good. I can vouch for that. And then, so I'll get this in the 2-pound bags and then get smaller bags of other flavors just to test them out. Like the Columbia, quite good. You can get subscriptions set up. On their site, they've got very detailed prescriptions for exactly how to prepare the coffee based on what type of mechanism you've got at home, whether that's an espresso machine. I've got the Breville Barista Express, and as luck would have it, that's exactly the machine that they make their prescriptions for espresso machines. But then, if you've got various types of pour overs, AeroPress, they will walk you through the finite descriptions of exactly how much and when to put all this stuff together if you want to really dork out. I don't take it that far. I just make sure my ground is nice and tight and tidy, and I make espresso and Americano every single day. Check them out, PERCcoffee.com, and there's a discount for that below. Let's clear the table here. Thanks, PERC Coffee. Excellent stuff every single day. Also sweet, like old school mugs you can get on site. Shimano, you know their kicks. They've been in the game for many a year. You might not know the sunglasses. I'm relatively new to these guys. They come in 3 different lens types: a road, an off-road, and then a gravel lens, which, what's a gravel lens? Well, it just makes the contrast that much finer for browns and grays of the road surfaces. Easy to adjust, comfortable on the face, nice wide lens, doesn't fog up, and they're just $100. So I've been pleasantly surprised with the new shades from Shimano. Shoes, I do not have the gravel shoe, the RX-8, which I wore for a good portion of the year because the only entity that loved the Shimano shoes in the house more than me was my puppy dog Mabel, who just devoured the things. So I don't have those here on hand, but the S-Fire Mountain and S-Fire Road stuff I used all year. In addition to being super comfy on the bike, I often end up standing quite a bit at events, so I'll do something like the Unbound 100, and then I'm spending the rest of the day on my feet, shooting a video about the bike I just tested, or walking around talking to the pro athletes about the stuff they used and how their day went. So job one for bike shoes is to provide a nice, comfortable, solid, efficient pedaling platform, but then looking good and lasting a long time and being comfortable when you're walking around is also pretty clutch. So Shimano delivers that in spades. If you all haven't seen, I just did a video on the garage featuring a lot of feedback stuff. Alpine scale, something I've been using for years and years. Easy to weigh your bikes and wheels, and if you're a dork like me, that's a handy thing. The valve core tool I use constantly. And then the Reflex Torque kit works well for both, making sure you're not over tightening your carbon bits in the shop or in your garage, wherever you're working on bikes, but it's also a super handy thing for travel. So I've been packing this with me for all of 2024. Silca, all kinds of good stuff. You guys know their wax, right? I've been appreciating the wax system just for the ease of use. Yes, you can, and many people still use a crock pot, but having a dedicated thing for me is nice and handy, and having a chain hanger to hang it on works well. For new chains, you can drop it in the pot with a strip chip. You don't have to strip the grease separately if it's the factory grease. That's super handy. It's an all-in-one shampoo and conditioner. If it's a greasy, already used chain, you can use a stripper either on the bike, or you can take the chain off, put it in a glass jar, shake it up. So I do that for existing chains. I'm getting to the point where I get annoyed, honestly, if some test bikes show up with greasy chains. But with the stripper, that's a pretty quick solution. And then I'll top stuff off with the super secret lube, wax lube, right? And then the understated day-to-day star of the show, gear wipes. A simple thing, but simple things are good. It can be a handy solution, right? I use these guys all the time. Like, I'll get ready to start a video and I'll realize there's slobber and drink mix and whatever else on the bikes. Just clean it off really quick before I turn it on. Also for shoes, it's pretty easy to tidy up your shoes. Nice whites without having to get the the full-on bucket and brushes out together. Simple thing, very handy thing. Also comes in little single-serve packs for traveling. Probably should have cleaned these shoes before I started the video. This Mondraker Arid bike, which is a very comfy bike, the chainstays are so wide, I've been banging my heel on that stay, and it's, hopefully that's not taking the, okay. Yeah, gear wipes are cleaning that up. I want beef on that Mondraker. Last bit from Silca I'm now seeing on the floor, I forgot about. The Terra floor pump. It's not Silca's tippity top end pump. They make all sorts of great pumps. The top end there by hand in Indianapolis. This is their entry level, if you want to call it that, pump. It just works well. I think it looks good. Clamps easily. And then you've got a little release button. If you go a little too high, you want to fine tune your pressure in. Got to clean up this gauge here before I put it on camera. And then the gauge is slick in that. And then the gauge is sweet for gravel in that up to 30 PSI, you've got big, easy to see increments, and then from 30 up to 120, not that you're going to 120 on gravel, but you might on road still if you're old school. Those are smaller increments, so just nice, easy visuals to dial in those itty-bitty PSI adjustments, both visually and then with your wee little release button here for the Terra floor pump. Giro lids, gotta protect the dome. I have put my dome on the floor a couple times this year and many times over a lifetime of riding. This has MIPS in what's called the spherical style, in that it's not just a liner that moves, but the two pieces of the foam move around. The idea being it dissipates forces coming up before they get to your brain. When I smashed up my shoulder, I dinged the helmet, but I didn't have any serious concussion, so that was, much appreciated. Whatever helmet you're running, does not hurt to invest in your head. I like the Aries because it also looks sweet. Comes in the best color, among others. Also use the Giro Eclipse a bit, the Aero helmet, but having lots of vents for me is a plus, and I like being able to tuck in sunglasses, and there's little rubber stoppers there to keep your sunglasses from jumping out. So that's the Giro Aries. Then my last supporter, folks at Castelli. Love the folks behind the brand and love the clothing in the brand. Also dig this travel bag. Castelli has a few different bags. This guy has pouch for your shoes. Yes, Fire road shoes. Just nice to keep them separate. And then the main pouch has a few other little pouches on the side, which make it handy for organizing your thermal headgear or your Gore-Tex headgear for when it's really cold. A couple pieces that I appreciated all year, and particularly with the busted shoulder and in gravel events. The free unlimited bibs, because they're great bib shorts. They have an excellent chamois, and yes, they've got pockets. It's a gravel thing. So pockets on the side and then pockets on the back, which when I'm doing events, I'll tuck my Dynaplug racer in the back and a CO2 inflator. A newfound appreciation for pockets is that since my arm does not yet go to the right jersey pockets, I can just use the pockets on the bib shorts. But temporary disability aside, great construction, great chamois, and handy pockets make the free unlimited a winner in my mind. Polartec Alpha is a material not necessarily exclusive to Castelli, but Castelli's got it in a few different places. This is a winter base layer. Loft is what Polartec Alpha has going for it in spades. It weighs very little. It kind of feels like floofy cotton, looks like floofy cotton. Can absorb water and wick sweat quite well and stays warm when it's wet, and it's just super light. So this is a standalone layer, but then it's also in the unlimited puffy vest, which I use quite a bit, and then this super schwanky high-end Alpha Doppio Shine winter jacket, which has a built-in vest on the front with a separate zipper, and then the alpha fabric in the back, and then a healthy serving of your Gore-Tex Infinium up front. So this is the type of thing where it's everything from, I don't know, like 50 degrees if it's overcast, down to below freezing. You can stay comfy in. Usually with a windproof layer, it's a pretty tight window before you start to boil in the bag, as the Brits would say. So Polartec Alpha, great stuff. Polartec Alpha in Castelli products, super. A simple product that I love for this time of year is the funnily named toe thingies. Just slide right on your, where are my shoes? Slide right over road or mountain shoes, and you can just leave the things on. So one thing none of us love in the winter is the amount of time that can be spent getting dressed. So anything that you can do to minimize that is a positive thing. And just having these toe thingies on your shoes lets you ride in pretty close to freezing conditions without your toes freezing off. They don't last forever if you're using them like I do, on gravel, mountain, run around, clambering over stuff. But they're like $26 or something, full pop. Toe thingies, quite toasty. One last Castelli piece, or type of piece, is these seamless warmers, which are kind of similar to the Polartec Alpha. It's just tiny. Like, these are arm warmers that fit me, right? They're itty bitty, super light, but surprisingly warm, and like a nice big range. So these in arm warmers, knee warmers, and leg warmers is stuff I have very much loved and appreciated all year long. So that's it for me. Gear that I loved from the supporters of the ride in 2024. I hope you had a good year, and I wish you all the best in 2025. Happy New Year, and enjoy the ride.